Welcome everybody back to podcast. I am once again joined by Kyle Finnegan and Matt Bagelboy Beagle. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good, doing good.
Doing great, Dylan. How are you doing this fine evening?
I'm pretty hyped. We had a barn burner of an overtime game between the Cavs and Pistons just wrap up not too long ago. And overall, second round of the playoffs has been doing pretty good. My Knicks already advanced. Can't say the same about your Timberwolves, Kyle, but I know we're going to get into that here in a little bit. But we're going to start off with that overtime game that we just talked about here between the Detroit Pistons and Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, guys, what a collapse from the Detroit Pistons. Now, everyone was saying Detroit was, this is the team to beat in the East. Number one seed. And instead, they have looked beatable round after round after round. First, the Magic takes them to 7. Now, if they want to take down the Cavs, it's going to have to go to 7 yet again. What is going wrong for the Detroit Pistons? Kyle, I want to start off with you.
I think I brought it up last video, if I'm correct. It's Durant not being that guy. I think you were talking about it earlier, 10 points per game, I think, this series. And, it's a lot of backpacking for Cade. He looks exhausted out there this series against the Cavaliers. But, props to James Harden, who stepped up those last 2 games, helped out. I know Donovan Mitchell had a 39-point second half for the playoffs. So, the Cavs are just clicking at the right time, let's say, and the Pistons are just having their luck run out at this point.
For sure. You said it best right there. Jalen Duren, like you mentioned, not even averaging 10 points per game, which is crazy. He's at 9.4 points. We can't even round them up to 10 points. 9.4 points per game, 6.6 rebounds per game on 46.2% shooting. Dude is playing like a backup center, and he's supposed to be literally a top 2-3 options for his team. Like you mentioned as well, Cade Cunningham's looking exhausted, and it's going to happen when you're dropping 39 points, 9 assists, 7 rebounds, 2 steals, and taking 27 shots tonight. Like, you can't be the only offense on the entire team. Matt, I just got to know from you, what is going wrong from the Pistons in your mind?
So again, you have Cade Cunningham as your entire offense. It's not going to be great when you have your supposed starting center not even averaging 10 points a game. You can only rely on one guy so much before your whole team goes down. If, say he has an injury, say he has just an off game, you're not going to win if your team isn't consistent, if you only have one consistent guy.
For sure. And, we were talking about that consistency right there. And one guy who's been kind of consistent the last 2 games has been James Harden. Now, he started the series not that great, wasn't doing his thing, kind of like how he was last series. But tonight he dropped 30 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 blocks in 43 minutes of play. Has James Harden finally arrived in this playoffs? Matt, let's start with you.
He was doing great tonight. Game 3, he had 19 points. He was 8 for 14. He's being pretty damn efficient right now. Joining Donovan Mitchell, they have just completely changed the way the offense has gone. And it's good to actually see James Harden playing, back like he was, not like his prime, but he's still doing pretty good, compared to how he's been doing the last few years.
For sure. Kyle, what about you? How are you feeling about James Harden so far in these East semis?
I want to. You can't say he's back. You can't turn back the clock. So this is the thing about James Harden, and this is the thing that James Harden has done every single series. He has those games where he does phenomenal, then he has those literal crap games. Matt knows this from the time being with the Nets.
Yep.
I think we've seen it with the Clippers. We've seen it with the Rockets at some points. Anywhere he's gone, even Philly and everything like that, it's ups and then downs. Like, guaranteed, don't worry, the Cavs are clicking, like I said, at the right time. But who knows how long that's going to last. We all know that at some point, James Harden is going to probably do what he normally does and puts up a crap show.
For sure. Like you said, James Harden's been known to do this. He's had multiple times in elimination games where he hasn't shown up. But right now, like you said, the Cavs are kind of clicking on all cylinders. But back on that Pistons side, the Pistons want to turn this around. What do they need to do to start turning the ship around? Kyle, let's start with you.
They need someone to step up and start scoring a little bit more, not just backpack off a can and everything. Like I said, Duran, or what you said, Duran's 9.4 points per game is not helping this team. Other than Duran, Cade, what do you have? You don't really have too much on that offensive side and everything like that.
For sure. I've been saying it for a while. I feel like this Pistons team is lacking that legit number 2 scorer. Now, we've seen guys like Duran play good. Thompson's been a great scorer before, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like they have that guy who can take over when Cade's not showing up. The same way Cat's shown up for Brunson when Brunson struggled. The same way OKC's had guys like J. Will, Chet, freaking, I think AJ Mitchell just dropped 28 the other night to help sweep the Lakers, which we'll get into after. Each of these teams have had someone be able to step up, and like you mentioned, I feel like the Pistons have just not really had that person to step up for them outside of, Tobias Harris in Game 7 against Orlando dropping 30 or something. And, it's Tobias Harris. Let's be honest. I don't know how long Tobias Harris is going to be a long-term option as that, go de facto number 2. But, hey, if it's working, it's working, I guess. But right now, after watching that game, seeing that monumental collapse from the Pistons, like we said, they were up 9 points with 3 minutes, and overall Cleveland overcame a 15-point deficit to come back. Is this like a momentum killer for the Pistons, where it's basically you think it's already over, or do you think they still have some fight left in them to kind of push this to 7 games, Matt?
I mean, the Caps have won the last 3 games. 2 of them were at home. They have not won a single game on the road until tonight. This could be a momentum killer for the Pistons, because if the Cavs are running on all cylinders, which they kind of have been for the last 3 games, they could just keep on going and just take it to Game 6 and just take the Pistons out.
What about you, Kyle?
They're better at home than they are on the road, but today, they finally won on that road. So I think riding that confidence and going back home, especially when you're 2-0 against them at home, I think you're going to take that game and hopefully move on to the conference finals.
For sure. I'll just say, when you're letting Max Strus drop 20 points and 8 boards and 6 of 8 from 3 on you off the bench, I'm sorry, wrap it up, guys. Wrap it up. But we're going to shift gears here now. So, serious, I know Mr. Kyle here wants to talk a lot about. I see he's repping the merch. We're going to talk about this Spurs-Timberwolves series here, because there's been a lot of ups and downs, I feel like, so far. I want to know, what's been the key takeaways of this series so far? Kyle, let's start off with you.
You can't stop fucking Wemby. I hate this guy. I can't. And I'm going to be honest, I think Julius Randle is gone after this season. I can't stand him going up against good teams and not being able to create efficient offense.
Don't you love the Julius Randle experience right there? I've been loving that since I watched him with the Knicks all those years ago, man.
Fair, we got a first-round pick and Dante DiVincenzo out of it, and I'm going to be honest, Julius Randle was phenomenal last season with us, but for some reason, he's only been somewhat good in the Nuggets series, and right now hasn't been looking like that player that we traded for. Other than that, there's really nothing around Ant. Jaden McDaniels hasn't been doing really too much this series. I mean, defensively, we're awesome. I know we're top in rebounds in the playoffs, if I'm correct. But after this series, I don't think so, because I think Victor's been just going off, 12 blocks. He's just been all over the place offensively, defensively, in the rebound, in the paint. We just can't stop him. And let's not forget that you got Dylan Harper, Vassell, Castle. They're all doing phenomenal. Fox. We have to look for what's his name? Champagny, I believe. He's been a good 3-point shooter, and maybe not this series, but that's still one of those people that we got to watch out for. But we just need some efficient offense from the Timberwolves, and we got to stop turning the ball over. And if we do that, it's gonna go to 7. Hopefully, it does go to 7. I wish it goes to 7, but I don't think it is.
Well, like you mentioned, it's been a difficult series when it comes to stopping Victor Wembanyama. It's also more difficult when you have Julius Randle just not showing up. His last 3 games, he had 17 points on 6 of 17 shooting, 12 points on 5 of 12 shooting, 12 points on 5 of 12 shooting, and 12 points on 3 of 12 shooting. So, it's not really great when you're getting that out of Julius. I will say my Knicks are very happy for you guys giving us Karl Anthony Towns. He might not be there always on defense, but the way he's been taking over these playoffs compared to that Julius Randle, and unfortunately what we have it with Dante DiVincenzo, hoping that carries for the Knicks very well. But sticking with this Spurs Timberwolves, Matt, I want to know what's been your key takeaway so far this series.
Again, you cannot stop Victor Wembanyama. Even an ejection off an elbow will not stop him. I mean, he comes back game 4, drops a 27 point, 17 rebound, double-double. Like, he's just unstoppable. I mean, I was hoping, I knew it wasn't going to happen, but I was hoping he would have been out for this game 4, but unfortunately he wasn't. And he kind of made a statement by not being out. So he really has just been embracing just the pressure of being the main offense, and he's been doing it phenomenal. You can't not stop that freak from France.
Yeah, no, he's been unstoppable this series, it feels like. I know Timberwolves fans were probably really hoping that elbow would have gotten him that suspension, but I will say it is kind of crazy he didn't at least get a fine, especially knowing guys like Mitchell Robinson, I think got like a $50,000 fine for posting a singing rat on his Instagram story after like the Dyson Daniels altercation. So seeing that compared to an elbow and not get any money is kind of insane. But I get it. NBA needs Wemby on the court. We got to make these playoffs interesting, as much as Kyle might be upset. But it is what it is. And you mentioned it right there, Matt, before that. You were talking about pressure. Now, you got a lot of star players in these series between Ant Edwards. You got, obviously Julius Randle, who you mentioned before, but Wemby on the other side. Which player do you think is under the most pressure in this playoff series so far? Kyle, let's start with you.
It's Julius, definitely, because of the way he's been playing and everything. Anyone else, I know we just need another star by Ant, someone who's going to be uptaking that offense, because defensively you already got it locked down with McDaniels, Rudy, and on nights when Anthony Edwards wants to lock up, he'll lock up those people and everything. So it's not like we need anything defensively. We just need something more offensively. I know we got depth at the big with Naz Reid. You got Io this offseason, but it's not a starting role caliber player. And when Dante comes back again, that's also, he's earned his start this season, but it's not a starting caliber star. But I think we need to either trade for something this offseason or before the trade deadline.
Big ask there overall, and lots of moves to make, especially when you have big contracts on the books. Matt, I got to know from you, who do you think has been the player underneath the most pressure so far this series?
I'm thinking it's Wemby, because the only times that the Wolves have really come to dominate is first in game 1 when the Spurs weren't really sure how to take on the Timberwolves, but they figured it out in game 2. And when Wemby was gone for a good bit of the game, they were able to come back and take it. But since he came back, they haven't won. So I think that Wemby, since he is pretty much the tipping point, at least in my opinion, for if the Spurs are going to win or lose, I think Wemby is going to be under the most amount of pressure.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think when you're deemed basically the next, perennial star of the league, where people are expecting you to be multiple-time DPOY for the next however many years, expect you to win all these crazy accolades based on your athletic ability, height, and spit. Like, people have already been crowning Wemby like he's already this GOAT type player. I feel like you need to make a statement to kind of start backing that up, especially early on. Like, I remember when Bro was having bad stuff in the summer league and people were ready to say he's a bust, but now it's okay, you got to show it up. Spurs have been showing up all season. Like, you got to translate that in the playoffs, and right now he looks literally unstoppable. Like, it just baffles me. I remember when we were recording last week, first game when they did lose to the Minnesota Timberwolves, he had 11 or 12 blocks or something. Like, it's
it was 11,
unfathomable how many, he just does video game numbers. So I feel like you got to have that translate into your wins for sure. But you mentioned it before, Kyle, that you weren't really confident in your own team of bringing this to 7 games. They are playing Game 6 at home against the Spurs. if this does go 7 series and your Timberwolves are able to sneak this Game 6 win out, who do you think benefits most out of this series possibly going 7 games? Matt, let's start with you.
So for going 7 games, I think that the Spurs are going to get the advantage. I mean, they've just been able to figure out the Wolves, and they've had offense that was just insane. They haven't had a single game that was under 100 points. The Wolves had 2, so they were able to completely, destroy them offensively. I mean, obviously, as we all know, you can't stop the man. You can't stop Wemby. So the Wolves didn't even win 2 in a row from what I was seeing. So if the Wolves could turn it around, that'd be great. But I think that the Spurs are still going to take the advantage because I think they're going to take the win and go through.
Kyle, you don't think that possibly getting that Game 6 win possibly swings some momentum for Minnesota to possibly sneak out that Game 7 win against the Spurs, or do you think this is kind of already written in the stars that Wemby's going to be bringing it home for San Antonio?
For some reason, the Wolves are always good in the last 2 games. We saw against the Nuggets when they went to the first conference finals. And, I mean, ever since then, the Nuggets now, we do good towards the end for some reason. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Wolves turn something around the next game. But if we do, it's something involving around, stopping Wembanyama, but also trying to maybe get Julius Randle in that scoring uptick and hopefully turning him into that, star caliber player that the Wolves traded for. And it's just hard to say that we'll win because of the way that we have been playing. It's been not that great this series, especially the way that we came off the Nuggets. You would think that we would be putting up more of a fight. And the last couple of games that the Spurs did take, we got blown out completely.
I couldn't agree more with you there, Kyle. I will say, if you're living and dying by Julius Randle ball, I'll tell you, you're going to expect a lot of fadeaway shots with a heavy contact, and you got to pray that those shots go in. But maybe the Julius shot can return. Some guys have a couple bad games, are able to turn around, but it's crunch time for the Timberwolves. But one team that's not having to experience some crunch time is my New York Knicks. Swept the Philadelphia 76ers. Get the brooms out, baby. Get the brooms. All right, feels great to say the New York Knicks have actually done great.
Hold on, guys. Why is Matt sweeping when you are a goddamn Nets fan, man?
I'm a goddamn New York fan, brother.
No. You are a Nets fan.
I mentioned this.
You are a Nets fan.
I know, but when I have no chance at ever reaching the playoffs.
Just because you guys got swept doesn't mean you got to do the sweeping motion.
Hey,
well, we didn't even make the playoffs, so
sometimes
we can't get swept if we don't even make it.
The love of New York is just so infectious, Kyle. Like, we just spread to so many other teams, all right? The fact that there's even a Nets fan on this call is, like, genuinely so rare. The fact that there's one that exists in this state, like, 99% of the state is all rooting for the Knicks. So we're just adopting Matt for the little bit run. It's like that story of the one army that went with, like, 80 soldiers, and they came back with 81 because they befriended a guy along the way. That's Matt. Matt's the guy who we befriended along the way. All right, the NBA championship isn't the actual championship; it's the friends we made along the way. But
exactly,
my personal best friends were this New York Knicks squad, just putting belt to ass against this 76ers team. It never gets old. Seriously, they dismantled the Sixers squad, who was able to take down the number 2 seeded Boston Celtics, and genuinely made it look like this team didn't deserve to be in the playoffs, in my opinion. Like, I couldn't fathom how different this Knicks team was compared to watching them when they played the 76ers a few seasons ago. Granted, there's been some obvious roster changes, but honestly, what was the biggest takeaway for you guys in this series? Kyle, let's start with you.
I think it's because you're coming off a grueling Game 7 with the Celtics, and then you come up against the Knicks, who had probably the most efficient offense in the playoffs so far, especially when you're draining 30-something threes in that last game. There's no stopping them. That's a big reason why they won that game, and a big reason why they took that series. It's just Philly doesn't look like a playoff caliber team at the moment. The Philly's just a long way. They snuck into those playoffs a little bit. So I even think if the Celtics were to play the Knicks, it would have looked the same way. They would have been swept.
That's a big say right there, Kyle. I don't know if the Celtics would have gotten swept. I think Jaylen Brown, Tatum, this team knew how to kind of pick apart the Knicks last year and face this kind of similar squad. But I will say, I don't know if it would have been, 6 or 7 game series. I think it probably would have been 4 or 5. I don't know if I can say sweep because it's hard to say sweep against Boston.
Confidence in your Knicks.
Hold on, you're telling me about lacking confidence. You're the guy who says your team's
you
not even
are
going to
lacking
get past
confidence
this
in your
round.
team.
Hold on. This is
a team that only had 2 starters score. You're telling me the Knicks would have never swept them? That offense was abysmal from the Celtics.
That team was also missing its best star in Jason Tatum during that, and has
That's
been
not my
playing
fault.
hurt.
He played half of that series and it still went to 7.
That's my biggest point. If you're missing your biggest star, then if he shows up the next series, I'm telling you, it's not a sweep at all. And that team has played this Knicks team before. They played them last year. They have a better understanding of this team than the Sixers did. Hell, Knicks Celtics team isn't ran by a bunch of guys held together by duct tape either. All right. Also, I just want to bring this back. I don't have confidence in my team. Kyle, you literally told me your team, you had no confidence in them going to the next round. We texted about this the other day, and I told you OKC has to go through the Knicks because there's no other team that's doing what the Knicks are doing right now in this playoff series. Hold on, you're going to have to wait 1 second here, buddy. You got to wait 1 second here, Kyle. You got to wait 1 second because I'm going to tell you this right now. There is no team doing what the Knicks are doing right now in this playoffs. All right? Multiple times they have blown their opponents out by 30 points. It doesn't matter. They did it against the Hawks. They did it against the only 2 games they've lost in this series have been by 1 point. All right? The 1 point losses, and in those games they had been down and were able to make miraculous comebacks besides the fact that they had lost the game. One of them being on a CJ McCollum shot, in the last 11 seconds of the game. I have total confidence in this Knicks team. Now, I'm still worried when it comes to a Spurs or an OKC because those teams are still insane. But we texted about this the other day, and I told you, OKC or the Spurs have to go through the Knicks. No other team is blowing teams out by 30 and sending them packing home. All right? This Knicks team is the most dominant team in this playoff series right now, and I genuinely can't see a team in the East stopping them, let alone a team on the West. This is the team that's going to bring home a championship to New York, and I'm putting my money on it.
Oh, I don't have a rebuttal.
You were about to cut me off here.
No, listen, I cut you off for a good reason because you had lacked confidence that your
not a
Knicks
single lack of confidence here.
Celtics, which I think they would have swept the Celtics. Again,
a sweep is a lot to ask.
A sweep against the number 2 seed.
You swept Philly, who beat the Celtics. You really think
Philly's a 7 seed who had to play in the play-in series, and they barely were able to make it. Like you said, they snuck into the playoffs.
The Knicks are going to the finals, but I just know it's going to be a tough matchup against either the Spurs or OKC, and that doesn't even matter if the Timberwolves get through it. It does. I know if we go up against OKC, who knows what happens compared to last season? Because I know Jay Will isn't playing right now, so.
Look, I'll just say...
It all depends on matchups and everything right now.
I'll just say this. To expect a sweep against the Boston Celtics, regardless of what's going on with that team, is just ludicrous. That team plays tough. They have one of the smartest coaches in the league in Joe Mazzulla. You say they're ass, but they've held on pretty good. The hell, did you have the Celtics being a number 2 seed going into this season? Legitimately. After they traded Kristaps Porzingis, Drew Holiday, and they brought back, Anthony Simons?
No, but also going into that series, you think they would be a way better team than what they performed.
But when you have your entire game plan getting messed up because you don't know if you're having Jason Tatum available every other day, I think that kind of plays into it.
They live and die by the 3.
Also, I'll give them one thing that you mentioned in the last episode. The center game was a complete mismatch. Queta and I can't remember if Vucevic really had much of an impact, but Joel Embiid versus that is going to just completely that's baby food. All right, so when you're going against Mitch, Rob, and Cat, watch the lob. All right,
who's daddy? But I think Cat showed Embiid who was daddy.
Well, like you said, Cat was daddy in this series. All right, the Knicks weaponize him as a post playmaker. All right, this team completely was able to change up how they've been able to play most of the series, where Cavs, when is able to control the ball, they were able to pull Joel Embiid out of the paint. They were able to create more layup opportunities and kill them with the three, as we saw. I think they tied the record for the most 3.5 in NBA playoff history. Like, this is what I mean. This Knicks team, they're undefeated, in my opinion, in terms of being the most dominant. They are hitting every metric right now that would tell me this team is the most dominant. But I got to know, in your guys' opinion, specifically, Matt, I want to start off with you here. You know, what would you say is, like, what would you say you took out of this Knicks 76ers series the most?
So, I mean, like you were saying, it seems like they aren't losing. I mean, they've won their last 7 now. And also their field goal percentage. That is something that cannot be dismissed. They shot a minimum of 50%. Every single game was over 50%. And that was the peak of the 76ers. Field goal percentage was 50%. So you kind of see a giant mismatch there, especially game 1 when you have your stars. You have Maxey shooting 3 for 9 and Embiid shooting 3 for 11. You kind of know that you're getting into a rough spot when that's how you start. I mean, and especially their rebounding numbers too. The Knicks were just getting all the rebounds. They were getting plus 10 in every single game except for game 2. So they were leading the offense, they were leading the defense. There was just no stopping them from the Sixers.
For sure. One thing I saw kind of to your numbers there, I believe if you averaged out the full series, the Knicks had an average of 58.2% for their field goal percent compared to the 76ers, 49.1%. Like, it was a complete and utter spacing and efficiency massacre from this Knicks team. But from one massacre to another, we're going to shift to the one team we were kind of just touching on a little bit, the OKC Thunder, sweeping the GOAT. King Braun has been eliminated in 4. Oh, my. Boys. Obviously, this Lakers team is a fucking hodgepodge of randomness of, I don't know, like, I can't believe they were even in the second round to begin with, but was the sweep surprising to you, Kyle?
No, but I will say this, because if I remember, if he was on the Nets, he played on a grade 2 hamstring injury in the playoffs.
Who are we talking about?
James Harden and Luka Doncic cannot get on that court with a grade 2 hamstring.
We're judging guys who, hold on, we're judging athletes with injuries, but we ain't playing.
To be fair, listen, if Doncic was on that court, there would have been at least 2 games that swung the Lakers' way, because again, you don't have Jay Will, and the OKC Thunder aren't blowing out people like they were last season, and they look like an average offense. To be granted, they have SGA, who's, popping off every game. That consistency from this guy is just insane.
You want me to tell you, Kyle, if you saw Luka Doncic on this court right now, it's going to look like OG Anunoby did a few years ago against the Pacers when he had his hamstring injury and he was literally like hobbling up and down the court. That will be Luka Doncic if he's on that court right now. I agree. That team, look, they needed Luka if they want to have any shot against them. But look, I know Ayton played kind of all right in the first round, but I don't know if he's really going to be able to do much when you have Chet, Ihart, and just this entire OKC. I don't know. This team's a juggernaut, and I feel like the Lakers, we've talked about it. This roster was it's just such a weird roster, man. I can't get over it. Like, every time I looked at it throughout the year, I just don't understand. Obviously, you're going to do good because you have Luka and LeBron, and Austin Reeves was a killer all year, too. And they have some solid guys, but I'm like, I just don't understand what the game plan is. But Matt, what about you? Did you think this was a surprise to see a sweep come here and see King LeBron go down?
I mean, not really, especially, of course, with Luke out. You have a main part of your offense that's not there. I mean, you also are going up against a team that's much younger. They have a lot more athleticism. They're just getting everything. And when you have matchups like DeAndre Ayton against Chet Holmgren, you're kind of going to get bested in the paint as much as possible. So it just was kind of a masterclass, again, from the Thunder. I mean, 8 wins in a row, 2 sweeps. It's going to be a very interesting finals whenever we get there.
For sure. Like you mentioned, this OKC team has just been pure dominance so far. They've yet to suffer a loss so far in this playoffs. Now, it really feels like there's been no competition for them. On the other side, they have the Timberwolves and Spurs. Do you think either of those teams can really give them a real run for their money, Kyle?
I think so, depending on whoever moves on, because so far the OKC hasn't gone up against two hard teams. Obviously, the West is probably the hardest conference in this association, but whoever moves on is going to give OKC a run for their money, and I believe either game will go to either 6 or 7, depending on how the Timberwolves come. If they make a comeback and move on, it's going to be how are they going to overcome SGA and that OKC Thunder offense that they couldn't last season. But for Wembanyama and the Spurs, it's going to be can that non-playoff, you know, consistency help them overtake OKC in a way.
Sure. Matt, what about you? Do you think that either the Spurs or the Timberwolves can really give the OKC Thunder a run for their money?
I think the Spurs would have more of a chance to give the OKC Thunder a run for their money because when you have just that would be just great matchups, especially at center, which we saw from the Suns and the Lakers that they were both lacking. It's going to be interesting to see what those matchups are going to be like. I feel like either team could go to maybe 6 games, maybe 7, but I still think that the Thunder are going to advance. They're sweeping right now. They have so much confidence. Everybody's doing well, so it's going to be more of a question of how many games is it going to take for them to get to the finals.
I think you said it best right there. This OKC team's been rolling. Some people like to give them the whistle treatment and be like, oh my God, they get help. But when you're sweeping teams back-to-back series and haven't lost a game yet, there's only so much you could say the whistles happen. I know the Lakers team had a full meeting with the refs after one of the games, but I don't know. When you just consistently game after game after game, like you mentioned, I just OKC team's in a juggernaut. I don't know if there's really anything that's stopping them from another finals appearance. And I think you said it best, Matt. It's only going to be how long until they're back in the finals rather than will they be back in the finals, however many games it's going to be. But one thing I did notice that was a little bit interesting is with this series, obviously, LeBron James is eliminated from the playoffs, and there's been a lot of questions about his time with the Lakers. They obviously just have new owners, and he's had some issues with the Buss family, it seemed like, with the whole Lucas situation and all that's been going on. You hear rumblings in and out, and I believe LeBron James has a player option on his contract this year. Now, obviously, his son Bronny's still with the Lakers. If those rumors of him having some potential issues with the Lakers are possibly true, is this potentially the last time we've seen LeBron James suit up for the Lakers? Matt, let's start with you.
I remember seeing an interview after they got swept. He didn't sound happy. He was saying that he was just gonna, enjoy time with his family, and he's getting there. I mean, he's how old at this point? I mean, he's been playing since pretty much I was born. So if the Lakers won the championship back in the bubble, but besides that, they've had 3 years where they got eliminated in the first round, 2 years where they got eliminated in the second round. I think they had 1 year where they made it to the Western Conference Finals. But that was it. So I think LeBron maybe has 1 more year, 2 more years, and if nothing happens, I think he's gone.
What about you, Kyle? He's like Matt just said, he's 41 years old. He's got a player option. After that, he would be an unrestricted free agent from the Lakers. Lakers have been, I believe, it's one of his top 2 most tenured teams, or it's arguably in terms of one full ride with a team. He's been there for 8 years now, since 2018. Yeah. So, is this potentially the last time we're seeing LeBron suit up for the Lakers, or do you think he's going to exercise that player option and come back for another season?
I'll probably end up coming back for another season, knowing LeBron, but I just feel like this Lakers tenure has just been the worst tenure of his career. Even though they won that championship, there's a lot of players that even don't like that championship. Like Alex Caruso hates that championship because they don't believe it's a real championship because it was the bubble. So discounting that, who really cares about it is probably LeBron and AD, especially AD because that's his only ring. LeBron, because it gives him those accolades, that's probably the only reason they even care that much about it. But again, it's been the worst tenure there ever since. Like, yeah, they made the WCF after the bubble, but after that, they haven't really gotten past the first or second round.
Well, the one contrary point I'll say to that, Kyle, is for the most part, I've seen most of the players revel in the fact that they won that championship. They all said that the Lakers team was arguably the best thing, and the one thing that they don't like about it is the fact that they weren't able to run that team back. The Buss family broke that team up pretty soon after the fact, and the Lakers haven't really had a good, consistently built team since that championship run. And now we can debate whether or not LeBron's run with the Lakers has been good or bad, but I just got to say, if you think LeBron's 8-year tenure with the Lakers is bad, then you must think that Giannis's 13-year tenure with the Bucks is bad, and Nikola Jokic's 11-year tenure with the Nuggets is bad. Because if you look at the accolades in that same time period, LeBron James has 1 chip, 1 finals, 2 Western Conference finals, and 1 finals MVP. Giannis has 1 chip, 1 finals, 2 Eastern Conference finals, 1 finals MVP. And Jokic has 1 chip, 1 finals, 2 Western Conference finals, and 1 finals MVP. So my point to anyone out there is if you think LeBron's tenure with the Lakers is bad, just look at the other greats around. But that's unfortunately all the time we have today on a pod. You know, we've seen a lot going on so far in this Eastern and Western Conference side of the finals. But Matt, Kyle, thank you so much for joining me. Before we go, though, I do have one last little question. Kyle, we talked about it last episode. We gave a little finals prediction when we had, all the teams still on both sides of the bracket. But with this coming down to the semis, who's your little finals prediction and who's coming out with that finals championship?
Watching how the Spurs are kind of dismantling the Wolves gives the Spurs a chance to definitely make this finals and make it like a Knicks Spurs. But again, they also have to go through OKC, even though they're on a little bit of a woe without Jay Will.
Matt, same question for you. We talked about it last episode, but who's that semi-early finals prediction, and who do you still have as that finals champion? Is it the same as last episode?
I'm keeping my opinion the same as last episode. The games that have been played have given me proof that my prediction seems like it could be the right one.
Well, I said it earlier, and I'll say it again. It's New York or nothing. This is going to be New York's here for the championship, which feels crazy to say that. And, me saying that is probably going to be the reason we don't win it now because I always have superstition jinx. But this Knicks team, we're rolling. Now, obviously, you got the OKC and Spurs, but we'll see. I don't know if I've seen them blow a team out by 30, but that will unfortunately do it for us today. Thank you so much for joining. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We would appreciate all your support in watching these episodes. I'm Dylan. That's Kyle. That's Bagel Boy Matt Beagle. Thank you, boys, so much for joining us, and have a great rest of your night.